Would you work with a personal trainer who looks like they're out of shape? Is this something that'd be a deal breaker for you? For me, it wouldn't be a deal breaker, but it'd be something I'd strongly consider when deciding to work with somebody or not. First, I'll give my reasoning as to why I'd be hesitant to work with a personal trainer who looks like they're out of shape. And then I'll give my reasoning as to why I would still consider having this person train me. So there's two main reasons as to why I'd be very hesitant about working with a personal trainer who looks like they're out of shape. Reason number one is if they're really out of shape, then there's a good chance that they are not practicing what they preach. I want someone who is trying to live an active and healthy lifestyle. It almost seems hypocritical to extol the virtues of exercising and a proper diet when you're not doing the same thing for yourself. It kind of shows a lack of passion for your job when you aren't exercising, eating well, or really doing any of the other things you need to do in order to look fit and in shape and healthy. The second reason for my hesitation is assuming that what I just said doesn't apply to them, and they are trying to exercise and eat well and do all the things that they should be doing, then clearly what they're doing isn't really working. This leads me to believe that they probably don't really have the proper knowledge on how to actually look fit and in shape. If they're super skinny or they're obese, and assuming this isn't a look that they are trying to achieve, which in most cases they probably aren't, then I feel like maybe they don't understand how to make the necessary changes to their body in order to look different. If they can't do this for themselves, then I really have no reason to believe that they'd be able to help me make the changes that I want to see. Of course, maybe they had potentially made dramatic changes to their body and went from, let's say, being morbidly obese to just currently overweight, and they're continuing to improve the way they look. If this is the case, then what I just said doesn't really apply to that situation. So I'll discuss now why I'd potentially work with a personal trainer who doesn't look like they're in very good shape. Throughout my fitness journey, my main goal has been to put on muscle mass and to increase my strength. I've done a pretty good job of this as I put on roughly 100 pounds of mostly muscle mass over the years. And despite doing this, I still don't look nearly as good as a lot of people do. So reason number one why I'd overlook the way a trainer looks currently is due to genetics. I do not have very good genetics for putting on muscle mass. And when I say genetics, I refer to a few different things, such as how easily you can put on muscle mass, how much muscle mass can your body hold, how easily can you lose body fat, what's your body fat distribution look like, what do your muscle assertions look like, what is your bone structure like, and various other factors, all of which that affect the way your body looks, but that you really have no control over whatsoever. I consider my specialty in helping people put on muscle mass, and this is despite the fact that there are guys in the gym that are just way more jacked than I am. And I've seen a lot of how these really muscular guys train, and I say quite a bit, like a high percentage of the guys that are very muscular, their training is nowhere near what I would consider optimal as to put on muscle or for muscular hypertrophy. From poor exercise selection to not ideal rep tempo to horrible exercise technique to just doing a bunch of junk volume. I've seen it all. Yet some of these guys are just massive and they can get away with subpar training just basically because they have great genetics. So genetics is a huge thing to take into account. The second thing to consider is how consistently has this person been training. You can get fairly good gains just by and a pretty good looking physique just through training consistently for years and years on end and eating somewhat well. Even if you're not super knowledgeable about proper way to train or nutrition, assuming you're just doing the very basics correct, then you can still look fairly good just through sheer amount of time and consistent training, even if you're not really training what I would consider to be proper or at least ideal for muscular hypertrophy, which is trying to increase muscle mass and potentially decrease body fat as well. The third thing to consider is PED usage. Is this person or personal trainer on a lot of PEDs? There's some really fit looking people who are just on a bunch of PEDs and their training knowledge might not be great, but they're on so many PEDs that they can still look pretty impressive, assuming, they're doing at least the very basic other stuff somewhat correct. Some people are hyper responders to anabolic steroids and can get really good results with them, even if they really aren't taking much. I've seen videos of a lot of professional bodybuilders training, and a lot of their training is very questionable, yet they still look incredible. And they can get away with this just by being on tons of PEDs. And then the two other factors I just mentioned, such as having amazing genetics and just the sheer amount of time and years that they've put into being at the gym. Another thing to consider when choosing a personal trainer is maybe this person is very knowledgeable about training and everything that comes with it, but maybe they're not a very good coach or instructor. Maybe they know a lot of things, but they don't know how to effectively communicate these things. And effective communication is crucial for being a good personal trainer. And not everyone's very good at this. So based on everything I went over, would I work with a personal trainer who was pretty out of shape? The answer to this is most likely not, but I would definitely consider it. This person may be super knowledgeable about proper exercise selection, periodization, exercise technique, aggressive overload, nutritional requirements, supplementation, and so forth. However, as I mentioned earlier, if they're really out of shape, there's a good chance they aren't practicing what they preach, and I want somebody who is living that lifestyle. They don't need to look super crazy fit. They don't have to have single digit body fat percentage. They don't have to have 18-inch arms or anything ridiculous. But just look, somewhat the part, I guess. I specialize in building muscle, but again, there's some guys out there that are just way more muscular than I'll ever be. And does that make me not know what I'm talking about or how to help people build muscle? Of course it doesn't. I'm just very close to reaching my genetic potential for putting on additional muscle mass, as I've been at this for about 2 decades, and again, don't have amazing genetics either. I certainly don't think I look bad either. Being about 6'3" weighing at this time I'm about 230 pounds and being about 10 to 12% body fat. So looks are not everything. when deciding if a personal trainer is any good or not. However, I would generally want to have someone train me who has a physique that is something that I would potentially like to aspire to have. So I'd love to hear your opinions on this topic. Feel free to leave a comment saying whether you would work with a personal trainer who's out of shape. Is this something that would be a deal breaker for you? Is this something that you'd even consider at all when picking a personal trainer? I think it's an interesting topic, and I'd love to hear people's opinions on that. So that's all I got for today. Till next time, stay strong, warriors.